To the market, let's see how the market shaped up today. The NSE All share index closed flat, marginally up by 0.09% to 38,334.54 points. That's about 0.09% today. Now, volumes were lifted by ABC Transport, Transcorp again, UBA Cap, Zenith Bank and Unity Bank. Now, for an update on the Nigerian equities market, I'm now joined in the studio by Abiodun Kerikwe, his research analyst at Investment One. Thank you so much, Abiodun, for joining us.
Thank you, Esther.
Now, it's been a week at the market. Volumes a bit. A slight uptrend. We've gone from around 2 million, climbed to 3 million, and now for today's closing numbers, just a little over 4 billion units exchanged by investors. And then we saw, of course, those earnings, but that didn't exactly shake things up at the market. Your thoughts on trading for today?
Well, as trading today went, we saw Nigerian Brewery coming in to weigh down market sentiment in a way, because previous day we saw the numbers coming out strong, the half-year numbers coming out strong with about 3 to 4% growth in both revenue and PBT, profit before tax numbers. And majorly that impacted the market yesterday, and for today, seeing the stock risen by about 14% over since July 9 and up to now. That gives some level of
impressive
growth
for you.
there.
Okay, great.
So we just see investors kind of trying to cash in on the gain Nigerian breweries have made, and given its weight in the market, it definitely impacted on the overall market mood for the day. And it wasn't just Nigerian brewery that was there. There was
of course, the gain is. Now, let's look at, we've seen 8 days, 9 days of rally now, and of course, although it hasn't exactly been a very strong rally, market breadth was still, on the depressed side. But for next week, your outlook for next week, do you see profit taking on the horizon, or do you see this trend continuing?
Well, looking at the market breadth from Monday, we saw about 0.18, times breadth. By Tuesday, that went down to about 0.1. For Wednesday, it kicked down again to about 0.2, and by Thursday, we saw about 0.14 times in market break. For today, that narrowed down to about 0.6, and that clearly shows that market sentiment is a little bit fragile, still very fragile. And on that backdrop, you would want to expect that next week, investors would want to, or market participants rather, would really want to come into the market and cash in some profit. But because the half-year earnings season has actually commenced,
they're going to cash in on profits. We're going to have more earnings next week anyways, more from the banks, and of course we might have some from the consumer goods sector. Yeah,
so it's again could possibly weigh down what you'll be seeing in the market. So you may just come back to a net effect. Some market participants trying to cash in a profit, while others are trying to bargain on. Actually,
so what direction? So it looks like they're both going to be pulling the market in two different directions. So
exactly.
In terms of a clear market direction, we're not going to have that.
We would have a clear market direction. I think I want to say investors should just be cautiously optimistic about the market for next week. There's a possibility that it could trend lower because of those who are out to take profit, and also there's a possibility that it could actually gain some points upward.
Okay, in terms of the earnings, obviously we're in earnings season. Any names, do you have any idea of any names we can look out for next week? Perhaps on the banking, we've had Sterling Bank for this week, so we should definitely have more next week.
Yeah, we should have more next week. Usually the likes of the GTB, the Access always, trail. Zenith Bank also trails. They take the lead role in terms of coming out with their numbers. So perhaps next week we should get some of those numbers, Zenith, GTB, and then maybe at later end of the week, Access could also come up with theirs. I think the consumer space too, we should expect some numbers from them too.
Numbers, but do you think the earnings might be mixed?
I think the earnings are going to be mixed for the consumer goods, really. Reasons being that it's a very tight one for the sector, a very competitive sector actually. Inflation is there. Though inflation has been trending down, but most of the commodities are being imported, and with what we've seen, global commodity prices as of July actually had narrowed down, but that's not actually going to reflect on their books for the half-year numbers. So we'll be looking at commodity prices as far back as December 2012, early 2013, which as at that point we had elevated commodity prices, and that definitely would impact on their costs. And given the structure of the industry, the ability to pass through this cost to the final consumers is quite thin, because competition is quite high. So most of them really can't pass the cost down to the consumers immediately. So they still have to absorb some of this cost. But I think for a Dangote Sugar, who's come up with some very impressive, full year numbers, Q1 numbers also, I think their numbers should also come out good. A Burger Paints today also released their half year, and
results.
Not too very,
what was the market reaction
good. It was just neutral. The growth we saw there, just about 6% growth across board, from the top line down to the bottom line.
It doesn't look like the numbers we've seen so far from the Nigerian breweries, Unilever, Sterling Bank. Do you think it was enough to just set that huge bonfire going at the market?
Well, aside the numbers for Sterling Bank, which were quite good, the interest income was up by about 18%. The bank grew the profit before tax by about 93%, from 3 billion to 6 billion on the approximate. If you look back into the balance sheet, you're seeing loan growth of about 18%. Deposit was up by about 21%. That's quite strong growth for a tier 2 bank in this industry, given the tight playing environment. Okay,
I'm looking at the key indicators for the market. Direction for the All Share Index up over 38,000 points so far. Market cap at over 12 trillion. Are we going to see this uptrend continue next week? Although, of course, that probably will depend on direction for next week.
I think it's going to be mixed next week. I see a rather neutral market, because I still think some market participants will want to take profit, and at the same time some other market participants, if the numbers we're expecting come in and they are good, they may want to react, bargain on the back of those numbers. So I see a mixed market. So it then depends on who's got the more power out of both parties. But I see a neutral market. I think market may just take a marginal decline by the end of the week. Okay,
now one quick one. I noticed a trend in 2 or 3 petroleum marketing stocks, and although that sector has been a bit quiet for a while now, Forte Oil and Owando, and now we have MRS and corn oil. In the last 3-4 days, Forte Oil has consistently been on the gainers list. It did that today, and now we had MRS and corn oil joining, and then about 2 days ago it was Owando. Is there anything what could be sparking, or is it just the forces of demand and supply?
Well, I would not want to think it's the earnings numbers that we're expecting that's actually driving those stocks. Looking at the industry holistically, there have been a couple of issues of late in the industry.
Because the pending PIB and still so much uncertainty there.
And that actually has affected investor sentiment about the industry. So I guess maybe, the banking sector, not really, the banking sector have performed quite well in this year. Industrials also have done quite well. The FMCGs too have done quite well. So perhaps investors are looking elsewhere. Can we pick up some gains,
where they can find value, perhaps maybe even just for the short term?
For the short term, really, because some of those oil companies, corn oil, excluding Owando, that has come up of recent with some better numbers. For corn oil, we've not seen any, even the 2012 full-year numbers is not in the marketplace. So,
you don't think it's positioning ahead of their own Q2 numbers too?
It's possible, really, that it's a positioning ahead of that, but maybe investors are reading the numbers from Owando to take a cue, and perhaps think the numbers will come good for corn oil and Forte Oil.